Welcome back, everyone, to another new episode of Grow Your Path to Wellness. We had some unforeseen circumstances today, so it's just going to be Amanda and I, but we will be rescheduling LaToya. So, check back in and see. We don't know a date yet, but we'll be getting something reposted about when we'll be chatting with her. So, again, it's just Amanda and I today, kind of impromptu. Figured we would chat. You guys can get to know us a little bit and maybe talk about just a handful of common questions we get or just kind of see how things flow today. So, hi, Amanda.
Hi, Kelsi. Feel free flow it a little bit today.
I love it though. Kind of nice.
I know. And wherever anyone's listening from, whatever month or year or time you're listening to this, it's January in Ohio and we got all sorts of snow.
Yeah, just told before we started recording, it's like raining now, so it's gonna melt everything, but then be a mess. So, not a fan. Ready for sunshine. I do know
But
that.
I think you were saying these are the times that you just kind of want to hibernate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something like peaceful and calm. My husband always talks about this. There's like a peaceful, calm, quiet about the snow. Like it almost creates like a sound barrier.
Right. It's like a lightness, like that just kind of comes over everything. And it's nice if I don't have to leave my house, like it's nice to look at. I fully agree with that. But as soon as I have to like go in it, I instantly feel like a popsicle. And then I'm like all tense and I hate it.
Yeah.
But it
gets me like to your bones, freezing to
Yeah.
your bones. Yeah. Taking the dogs outside. I'm like, in the beginning, I'm like, ah.
Mine, you just let him out, but he's so short down to the ground. So like everything gets soaked. Not just feet, just everything. So that's why whenever it's like, it's going to be a mess, I'm like, because he's going to be a mess every time I let him back in.
And he doesn't have any direction, or what's the word I'm looking for? He just goes and wanders wherever he wants to in the Hocking Hills and just, goes in the creeks and the
meanders. We're out in the middle of nowhere and I'll yell for him and then he'll come back and then want to run through my house unless I like trap him and dry him off.
Yeah, our little pug. He's all man.
He's out there, and I give you all the props because you have way more animals than I do. So
it's quite a journey. It's very fun. Sam somehow magically, like once you let him out the back door, he is like patio to back of our yard in like 30 seconds. Not even like 5 seconds. Like I got things to see, Mom. But they're a lot easier to wipe their paws. But pug, you have to like pick him up. Biscuits, we call them pug. You just have to like pick him up and like he hates his paws being wiped and he'll just let me out of here and give me something to eat.
And he'll just lay, but then he'll lay on the feet and like the sides that you need to dry off, and then he just will refuse to get up, and he's lazy. These animals, though, there's so much joy, but also stress at the same time.
When I do assessments with people and I ask about support and I talk about like, oh, do you have any pets? I can just tell sometimes from the way they respond, but not always. So I'll always ask a follow-up question like, are they a good support for you? Because sometimes they're caught off guard. Like we're talking about like their loved ones and their friends and faith.
Today is how we feel about that. Like just as like one of our impromptu topics, because I had a client, I don't know if it was last week, one of my new ones that you and I had talked about, like I was getting ready to take on. And because it was like a full-on checkbox on our assessment, like types of support. And I said, you said you had pets, right? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, so like, what kind of, source of support do they give you? How do they make you feel? And she's like, oh, like they're great. Like they make me so happy. And I'm like, mm-hmm.
I never thought, yeah, sometimes they're caught off guard or a lot of times I find myself, if they don't like volunteer the information and say, oh yeah, like I'm so thankful I have my dog, they, are good support for me. I'll say, are they like an emotional support or are they more of a stress? Because some people, they like their partner got the dog and they thought it was going to be a good idea, or, with rescue, I rescue with rescues sometimes, even just pups, they're just not always the best trained. And if you're already struggling with your mental health and have a lot of stress going on, the added stress of an untrained or unresponsive pet can be a lot of stress. But I I mean, like in the morning when my animals are driving me crazy and meowing and Daniel like nibble at my elbow, just like kind of, and then, I get out of bed and Biscuits is like, and, and like all three of the cats have their own little tones of like,
And you get to know their tones like 100%.
It drives me insane. And then at the same time, I think about it and it's like, that got me out of bed.
Yeah.
It forced me to get up. It forced me to go downstairs and feed them. It forced me to then get myself a drink and get myself some breakfast, because otherwise, on days like today, like you said, I could just hibernate in bed all day.
Oh, yeah.
When you have something to care for, you have to get out of bed.
Yes, it's like that, a layer of accountability, but not, with it not being a person, it's like, it's different. Because like sometimes if we have a partner, spouse, or, the way they say things, if we're not in a good mood, they may not intend to, upset us or make us more stressed. But with pets, it's a little bit different. They don't have words. They're just like, excuse me, see me, do something with me.
And I didn't ask to be here. Like, you brought me here.
So. It was like my spouse or something. I'll catch myself. I was like, will you just do it? Like, will you just do it yourself, please? With a dog, I'm like, okay, fine, coming.
One of these days I'm gonna train my, because they give you zero personal space. So like, I'll go to the bathroom and they'll just be like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, one of these days I'm gonna train my animals to go to the bathroom on the toilet.
Oh my god, I need a video of that.
Have you seen people do this? Have you seen videos like training their cats?
They do it like gradually, like they'll, not to get gross, but like they'll put a litter box in there and just have them sniff it. And like they do it gradually, and I'm like, crazy.
It's insanity to me. Okay, the other thing I think we mentioned was like just when your brain isn't there and when you just like can't.
Today.
Words, what?
Yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, we're going to improvise. And I'm like, okay, my brain's not wanting to improvise today. So here we are. We're doing the thing, but I was not, like, I could just feel it, like, where I'm so sensitive to sleep. Like, some people, like, I can definitely tell, like, how big of an impact just one night of not getting, that's dramatic to say, like, I have to get 8 hours, but if it's
restful.
Right, super interrupted, like up and down, I can really tell like the difference the next day. And when I think I reset, I think I told you when you texted me, I was like, I think I've reset my alarm like 3 times this morning, which obviously did not help me, but I just literally laid there. And I'm like, and I would fall back to sleep, and thank goodness I reset my alarm.
Because you just don't wanna.
Yeah. No, combination of many things, I think. But yeah, I was up and down all night, and then I was like, my thoughts, they're just not organized. They're not coming together. But at the same time, that's okay.
Yeah, I think people sometimes struggle, like, and then it's the mindfulness part of it. It's like, okay, wait, I didn't get great sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sunday. It's snowing. I had a really long week last week, or whatever it is, and like being able to put it in perspective rather than be like, oh my gosh, I'm a mess. Why can't I ever do things right? I need to get out of bed. Like, I use this example all the time, but if you had like a friend or, people that have children and they signed up to do something amazing like a marathon, and the whole time you're just like, you suck.
Right.
You should have got different shoes. You should run this way. Like, that doesn't help us get to our goal. Yeah. So it's just
not helpful. It's not going to get us where we would like to be eventually,
Mm-hmm. Grace, all the grace. And sometimes it's okay to just, I know it's quite a, cliche term lately, but it's okay to not be okay. And I mean that, like, it's okay to not be okay, and you also have to work through it, like it's not okay to not be okay for like a week straight and just lay in bed and do nothing and not go to work. That's a time where you need to reach out to people, but you're okay to have off days, especially in a global pandemic.
Yeah.
When you haven't been able to do the things you want to do, see friends or family, you're constantly working from home.
Yes, like days start to feel like they run together, and then just all of the things that going on in our society right now, and then constantly, I feel like with COVID and so much stuff being on technology, like I find myself at times like being like pushed away from like my phone or the computer or the TV. Like I could, like yesterday, all morning yesterday, I sat from the time I got up at like 8:30 until probably 11, and all I did was read.
I love that.
Literally, like, and I finished a book that I was obviously reading, and
What
like
book?
it was a Stephen King book.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah,
It's
pleasure
called
reading.
The
Yeah.
Outsider.
Oh, I've heard.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was good. It was pretty good. And it's a big one, but I always read every night, like before bed, because it helps me go into like more restful sleep. And I always like, I actually practice what I preach with that usually. If I have work or something the next day, now weekends I can get a little bit off and like sit and get caught up in TikTok. And then I can send you TikToks. But
between you and Lisa, which I know you haven't met Lisa yet, but between you and Lisa, I gotta go let Callie in because she, you know, these are my children. They don't leave me alone. Um, between you and Lisa, sometimes I'll open my TikTok and I have like 37 messages, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who's talking to me? Like, why am I that important? And
you're like,
it's just
oh, it's
you
just
guys sending me TikToks. I think honestly, I think that's an interesting conversation to have too. Is like TikTok and how that changes mental health and like treatment, and I don't know. I think that's a good topic to pivot onto because Callie, hi. Because I've had so many people involved, like whether they're young or older, you know, obviously not like my 80-year-old, you know, patients that I see at the doctor's office. They're not talking to me about TikTok, but I think it's opened a lot of doors for conversations that people felt afraid to have and
absolutely.
normalize things.
I feel like it made us as clinicians. Oh, hi, Callie. Join us. Oh,
You're
she's
like
Cam.
partly blurry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sassy one.
It's hilarious. But I feel like it's us more, I mean, approachable in like a human way. Like, because people see us on the things that we're posting, or, you know, we're still professionals, we're still acting like professionals, but it's opened up a lot of different doors, I think, to instead of people viewing. So it's helped break down some of the stigmas or like stereotypes of, you know, mental health treatment and professionals. I love it.
Yeah, like even when we did the episode on telehealth, we talked about the benefits, and we talked about this a few different times. Like you get to see in each other's homes, and you get to meet their pets and their kids, and it just humanizes you a little more. You know, it makes you know that yes, I have a job as a therapist, but I'm a human outside of that, and I'm not always a therapist.
Mm-hmm. You know, like I've shared my pet on, you know, TikTok. You know, I am like, we're always, you know, like I said, we're always professional. We're always mindful of what we are sharing and stuff. But I think it helps you really, it's not even about like creating a niche, but, you know, some people have came across like my account, and I'm sure yours too, and are like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found this. Like I could sit there and sometimes I'll post a video in my pajamas if something comes to my head, and I'm like, you know, I'm not at work, but I still want to share this, and everybody, and you can tell that they really appreciate humans acting like humans.
Right? I'm not a robot.
No, and it's so much fun. So,
And I've learned so many things. I've learned new coping skills. I've learned like theory related things from other TikTok therapists. And
yeah,
it's just a
I have
beautiful little community.
my favorites of like different exercises that somebody walked through that I was like, holy cow, I've never seen that one. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm some like in, you know, sessions and stuff, and so
Or my
many.
clients will bring things that they've found on TikTok.
Oh, here lately, I've been hearing that all the time.
Like my one client was like, I found this butterfly thing, tapping thing I've been doing. And I'm like, that's tapping and it's bilateral stimulation. It's like an EMDR technique. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Or like they'll send me TikToks in between sessions, like, oh my gosh, I found this and I've been using it. Or, and you know, obviously always the caution, TikTok is not therapy.
Right.
And just be mindful of who you're following because, you know, not everyone on there is there for the right reasons, just like any kind of social media. But there is a really great community there. And just to say, not even just therapists, but like you said, not but like community, people that have been looking for community for whatever their interests are, you find it. It's there.
Yes. Yes. I've met, like I follow or have people that follow me. Some are just, I don't know, it helps break down so many barriers. Because like you said, we have to be careful. It's not like a substitute or, it's not for therapy treatment, but I think it helps people see like, oh my gosh, other people experience this the way that I do. And I feel like it can help make the thought of reaching out for help and guidance and using the tools they're seeing on TikTok. Like it's less intimidating to reach out to a therapist or a psychiatrist when you see them in the realm of like on TikTok and in the safe way that we put things out there.
Okay, you're just gonna lay there on my computer? Okay,
yes,
that's great.
I'm in the frame. Oh,
you're scrolling now. You're going through. You're scrolling. Okay, we're gonna get off of here because you're scrolling on things now. I can't right now. For the people that are just listening, I'm so sorry you can't see my beautiful calico kitty, but I swear. And oh man, I lost it. You distracted me. I lost it.
Like I would never do such a thing, Mom.
Something about TikTok. Oh, it empowers you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think, even before TikTok, just on general social media, people have started to be more vocal about their own mental health. And even my clients, once they get to, that's my favorite part, is like once they get to a certain point in their healing, they start to open up to other people.
Yes.
And then the other people are like, oh my gosh, you too. Wait a minute, I'm not alone. I'm not quote unquote crazy. No, nobody's crazy. And it's like a sense of community. It's a normalization. It empowers you. And then it helps facilitate you along those stages of change where like you might have been contemplating, maybe there's something going on that I should address. And now you're like, I'm going to start preparing and maybe like look for a therapist, And I think the other thing that's being normalized more is you don't have to be extremely unwell or extremely symptomatic to talk to a therapist. Just like when you go, was this my episode I talked about this? Like you don't, when you go to your doctor for preventative well visits, you're well at the time, and it's just to check in and make sure everything's going okay and look at goals for the future. And okay, if you still want to be active and fit at 70, what should you be doing now with your diet? Same thing with mental health.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good like topic for us to talk about. Like, what do those sessions look like for us? Because I definitely have people that are doing well and they just want to talk about, future oriented things or maintaining.
Yes. Yeah. You don't have to, and you don't have to, I feel like there is that kind of stigma, or I don't know if it's like an expectation, I'll just stick with generalization, where you have to be, almost bedridden or just have lost your job or, like very intense, which are very real, experiences, but having that community and that exposure in that way, I feel like everybody's like, okay, so like my self-worth and all of this stuff is not attached to my mental health. Like, and I'm not going to be looked at any different walking in saying, hey, I think I just want some maintenance skills. Hey, I'm kind of struggling with stress management, or, I'm feeling held back in my job, or, and you get that same exact, treatment and feedback. You're not going to get blown off if you, aren't in severe, episodes.
Yeah, there's not a certain threshold. Like you don't have to be a certain amount of sick or a certain amount of symptomatic.
Right. Being like, that's why you and I, we do what we do. Like we call it that overall wellness, and saying, if we can get these skills in place, we meet any client where they're at, and I think people don't always see it that way. So having TikTok and just different social media platforms has really just promoted taking care of yourself overall.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to relate those things too. I think, whether it's TikTok or any other social media, or the fact that maybe we're finally doing better in our education system on talking about social emotional wellness and giving basic coping skills. Pretty early on, we had Mallory, my friend that's kindergarten teacher, talking about how she does social emotional wellness, mindfulness, breathing, all that stuff in kindergarten. And it just makes me so happy. But we're getting to a point generationally where it's no longer pull yourself up by your bootstraps, don't be a sissy and cry, that kind of thing. And people are more in tune. So people kind of show up to therapy and say, their insight is like amazing. They
Yes.
show up and they're like, I'm aware that because my mom did this kind of parenting, I kind of have this critical voice in my head, and that gets in the way of me succeeding at work and wanting to take new opportunities. And I really want to work on that. And they show up like ready to know. They know what the problem is. They want to work on it, and they just need the formula to kind of work through that. And it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful, not that I'm saying it's less work for us or anything like that, but you don't have to spend so much time doing the psychoeducation and getting people to understand there's nothing wrong with you. You're a product of your environment. You're, every biopsychosocial, spiritual, everything has led you up to this point. So no wonder these are your symptoms. They kind of come with this knowledge from wherever it came from. And it's like, oh, yay.
Like they have connected their own dots, like because of that educational, informational stuff that is being put out there more and more often. And it's like, it's empowering to them, because I've heard clients, they'll say like, I was watching a video or a TikTok or something, and then they'll bring that topic to session, and they're like, that I feel like that, really makes sense for me, or it hits home for me. And then it's something that sparks, a path for us in treatment that maybe we hadn't went down yet. And that's not either one of our fault. It's just somebody worded something a certain way and really clicked for them. And you see like that little light bulb. They're like, oh, yeah, I hadn't really shared much of that with you yet, but this makes sense. And now this is something I really want to pay attention to. And
and it's kind of, I know it's social media, so obviously I don't put a lot of like empirical research weight on it. However, it reminds me of like the episode we did with Nicole and music, right? Just as someone might hear a song that triggers or excites them or brings up a memory that they might want to talk about in therapy, it's the same thing. Like before TikTok, I had people sending me like, not necessarily memes, but like images they would find on Instagram and say like, whoa, this really hit home for me. Like, I want to talk about this. And again, none of those are therapy, but they're a like springboard for your session. And then it's our job to help you reframe that in a therapeutic way.
Right. Where does this hit for you? How has that impacted you? How is it in a helpful or unhelpful way? And it's like little stepping stones now that more and more people are feeling that safety of putting information out there, and it's all in what you do with it. So, even if it's just taking some of that, intimidation away from, because when I have new clients reach out to me, not from TikTok, but like from websites that, I'm listed on and stuff, like so many of them begin their email with, some kind of like hesitation that they've had about reaching out to a therapist. And then they feel like they've just reached a point where, they feel like they had to. And I feel like as things progress and in the climate around mental health, I love that that's happening less often, but I'm still getting it. But it's just less and less stigma and more like humanization of like, we all need help. Like it's some support, whether it's a therapist, support, from, and it's okay to have supports that serve different purposes. I talk about that a lot with my clients. Like a certain kind of support, you may not, your spouse most likely isn't capable of giving you every type of support that we need, and acknowledging that, like, hey, I think I need a different kind of support, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Or
that's healthy. That's a healthy decision to make.
Yes.
Because otherwise it can become burdensome or resentment almost can be built, because as a partner with somebody, you want to share your life together. And that doesn't always have to be happy and giddy. There can be some sad times. Yet when you're really struggling with some sort of issue, that's whether it's lifelong embedded or it's just really outside of their scope as your spouse, right? They didn't go to school for these things. Then just like, if you went to your doctor and they said, ooh, that might be a fracture, we need to send you to an orthopedic. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Let's get you to someone that can do that work.
That analogy, because and like you and I always talk about in the medical field, getting a referral to a specialist is.
She wants out now. This is my life.
She's done in here. She needs out now. But in the medical field, it's so you almost go to a family physician or a general, practitioner looking for a specific referral for what you need. And then mental health, it doesn't always feel that way. Every now and then you'll get a good, family doctors that will refer, and I'm seeing that more and more often, like other clinicians in the field and different practices actually referring to mental health treatment too.
Yeah. I think we're finally starting, not starting. We're finally reminding ourselves, I was talking to this. See, words. It's okay that your words aren't always there. Even as a therapist, this might happen in my sessions, and that's okay because I'm a human. Even just like, we've become so specialized that unfortunately sometimes your doctor just wants to send you to a specialist for everything, and then you have so many specialists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they all think that their thing is the problem and the focus area, not realizing this is an entire system connected.
Yep.
And no one kind of looks at it holistically to say, oh, you kind of had some really stressful things happen, right? Mm-hmm. I had someone come probably like, what was it? They said like 22 years ago, they had a pretty life-altering accident that could have left them, with the inability, well, they were left with the inability to walk for a while and had to relearn how to walk and talk and those kind of things. And still just, has some functioning back, but you lose what you thought you were going to have. And just me being able to reframe and say, that's some post-traumatic stress from 20 years ago that's just been lingering and is now kind of, you're finally coming to a head and saying, right, you've had all these other symptoms. Now you're drinking more, you're angry, you're irritable, you can't identify a current cause. We don't realize how deeply stored that trauma and stress is in our body. And I think that's something that we're finally, even though it's been around for centuries, we're finally starting to realize, okay, stress really does impact our health, whether it's your pain tolerance, like I disclosed before, I struggle with chronic pain. So I know when I have more stress, my pain is worse. That's when I go to my breathing and my tapping and my self-talk and my affirmations. And it might sound cuckoo to people, but man, try it and see what happens. And the proof is in the pudding.
Yes.
That when you have those symptoms and you try these, mental health, not so much, doctor related interventions, and there's relief, we can't deny that these systems are connected, right? Yeah. Your body's just trying to communicate there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
And your logical brain in the moment has no idea because it's been stored away. Oh, I could just go on forever. Just talk forever on that topic.
Many, like, we have our own body system, and then we have the systems outside of us, and we walk in, to a physician's office, and like you said, they don't look at us as a person who is involved in so many different systems. It's like, okay, we just need to get a diagnosis and a specific treatment, and it's like, okay, I walk out, but I still go to the same exact systems that are my life, whether that's a very, very dysfunctional workplace, or if they're, you're treating somebody for digestive issues, and then it could be anxiety related and they're going home to very dysfunctional things at home, or it's just, we're very, we're creatures of so many different systems, whether it's our relationships, the way our own physical body works, and
our environments where we live, like our neighborhoods, our access to resources, nutrition, social support.
And people want to target the symptom and kind of discount what role all of the systems are playing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that could be a topic in itself.
Yeah, I could definitely go on forever, because like on TikTok, you see those like videos where you don't realize, because I feel like if we tie that back to social media, I feel like that's another thing that it's helping with, is helping people kind of step outside of things that are, bigger than them, and saying like, okay, this isn't an inherent flaw or a weakness of mine. It's like, there's these things that are going on around me or happening to me that are really impacting me in this. And I don't have to, face all of that alone. And there's somebody else out there now that I've found this community that also can see it that way.
Especially like boundary setting, communicating our needs. There's so many consistent themes among all of us.
Yeah.
We weren't taught how to do, and we realized the trickle-down effect that it has on our lives.
Mm-hmm. I was just talking with a client the other day, and that individual, was just feeling, neither one of us are like physical health medical, specialists or practitioners, but when you look at like some of the things that they're experiencing, we're working on some like health anxiety stuff. And the individual was like, when we looked at just and self-care is so much more than like kind of the sensationalized like type of stuff, like bubble baths. Like stuff's good if you enjoy it, but the nitty gritty stuff, I feel like for us can get so off track. And, the whole taking care of ourselves, like how am I treating my body? How am I putting fuel in the car every day or am I not? And that could be why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And that can include boundaries too.
Or am I putting kerosene when I need gasoline, right?
Just stepping outside of those systems, and the way that we see it broke down on social media, I think can be very helpful. And break down barriers or expectations that I feel like society has programmed us to have.
Yeah.
Just say yes, just keep going. Just do what everybody tells you that you need to do.
Be a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we wonder why we're miserable. We're usually living for somebody else's.
Right. It's like that
expectations.
Our videos, like they're sharing these things that they're feeling, and then we break it down for them, and you're like, it's not bizarre that you feel this way. So where do we start? And
it's like a duh. Yeah, a lot of times people, I'm like, okay, I like name off and count on my hands, like, okay, so you've been through this, and then this happened, and then you're not doing this, but not like as a bad thing, but like
right.
You're not able to access this. This isn't happening. Blah, blah, okay. No wonder you're feeling this way. Like if this was all happening and you weren't experiencing depression or anxiety, I would be concerned.
Right.
Is there like some sociopathy
doing
going on there? Or are you, are you in a coma? What's happening? The fact that you have these symptoms means that you're normal. There's nothing wrong with you given the state. And even if it's just something as quote unquote simple as transitioning from high school to college, you work a lot with that population, right? Oh my gosh, how overwhelming is that? I need you to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life right now. But also, there's a ton of new people. Yeah.
Yes. My saying I always say with that population that I love to work with is, at this age, like, and it's not been that long since I was there, and I'll say you're at this age, you're expected to have everything figured out, but also know nothing at the same time.
And no one equipped you.
No.
Yeah, I was talking about that with a friend group. We were talking about how like no one ever, my friend is finally getting like a full-time job with benefits, and she hasn't had that before. And so she's like looking through the benefits package, and she's like 401k, 403b, HSA, or blah, blah. Wait, what does this mean? I don't know. What is that? What's Cobra? What's this? And I'm like, listen, I had no idea either. The first time that happened, I panicked, and then I was like, Mom, and I had my parents kind of walk me through it. And even still, I was like, but what do I pick? Like, can you just tell me what to pick? Because I have no idea. No one prepared me for this. Or like paying bills, or something as simple as like teaching. I've, had to kind of coach people how to refill their medications. Like, okay, let's look at the bottle. Does it say you have, like, where it says refills left? Is there a number there? Yes. Okay. Then you just need to call the pharmacy and say, I need a refill. it says 0 refills left. Okay, then we need to call your doctor's office and say, hey, I need a refill. Just something as simple as that. Nobody's teaching us how to do.
Right, that little blip can influence all of those other systems that we just talked about. And like just having somebody to break down that information and say, okay, what are we missing, or what do we feel like we still need here? And then making little action steps to getting that done. And it helps with that. It has a totally different trickle down effect after that than what it could have.
Instead of like degrading yourself and saying how stupid you are, like, oh my God, I can't believe I don't know how to do this, or just going weeks and weeks without your medication because you don't know what to do. We've now empowered you, and now your brain got a little dopamine hit because you did something successful, right? And now you can build upon that.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's so many things that like my brain can just like run away with right now.
I love these. I mean, not that I don't want to have
Or steam. I got you.
I don't want to not be able to give the audience what we've offered.
Right.
On a topic, but I do think we should do more of these impromptu little chats because I think they're, again, they humanize,
yes,
normalize.
More than just like a very, like sure, clinical topics and, set, questions and just topics in general are good, but we're also, two unique clinicians and similar perspectives, but different at the same time. And I know that you and I, we could sit here and just do like an impromptu chat series
and maybe sometime we will. Until then, let's make sure everyone likes, comments, and subscribes so you don't miss out on the future episodes. And when I say that, I really mean it. Like if you have something you want us to talk about, please let us know. Like comment and let us know, because we're only as good as our brains can come up with as far as topics and reaching out to our community and what their expertise are. We will let you know. Okay. Yeah. And then we'll let you know when we will just, if you follow us on social media, we will let you know when Latoya is going to get rescheduled. And then next week we have Emma Kolbus. She is going to be talking about making healthy choices. I'm very excited about that. Emma and I worked together in the past, and she has a lot of really great experience. Emma's actually the one that's at Ashland University now for that LGBTQ training that you and I will be doing soon, Kelsi. So.
Oh, fun. Okay. Yeah. Somebody's like every week I'm like, oh, like I'm not that like I have access to like our calendar and who's coming up, and every week I'm like, oh,
surprised. Yes. All right. Well, I'm glad that you guys stuck with us, even though it wasn't the topic that we advertised.
Yeah.
But we will see you next week, and we appreciate your community. Take care.
Take care. Bye.